chance to react to movie review Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep was directed by Mike Flanagan and stars Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson. And this is based on Stephen King's novel Doctor Sleep, and this is also a sequel to The Shining. So now, Ewan McGregor plays an adult version of Danny Torrance, a man who had who has drinking problems. He's an alcoholic, and he's trying to get away far from his past as possible. He meets When his past calls, he meets this young girl that actually can shine just like him, and Rose the Hat. We get Rose the Hat, played by Rebecca. Forgot her last. Ferguson. Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Rose the Hat, who's trying to who her and her team are trying to find people like Danny and this young girl by killing them. And this is one of my favorite. The Shining was actually a good movie. I know people love The Shining, and with this movie, I know this movie is not really good as The Shining, but don't get me wrong, I like The Shining, but I never seen it yet. I keep hearing so many things about it. I keep watching the movie clips, trailer about it, and I'm like, I really need to watch this entire movie. But Doctor Sleep is actually is a great movie. It's a fun movie. It's a fun horror movie. So even McGregor is really good in this movie. I'm glad he gets to play a dude who has an alcoholic problem and going through a lot in his life. His life's all messed up, but he's trying to figure out how to fix his life and get his life right. Since he has a best friend of his in the movie, I think this movie is really good for Ewan McGregor anyway. But Ferguson, thank you. Rebecca Ferguson. I don't know why. Sometimes I forget last names. Sometimes I'm not really good at pronouncing last names, but I'm trying my best. Rebecca Ferguson is the main villain who plays Rose the Hat in this movie. She is one of the mainest villains that's in this movie, and this movie is a horrifying film. The shots in this movie were great. I think the director Mike Flanagan has thought about The Shining by putting it inside the movie of going back to Danny's past towards his future, and that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. That was one of my favorite aspects of this movie. And this movie is like a nostalgia of The Shining, but the only thing is that's really nice, that's really cool, is this movie is kind of like a little bit like a magical horror movie that kind of reminds me a little bit like Goosebumps a little, but not really like Goosebumps. But I think Mike Flanagan did a really good job on this movie of discovering about The Shining by putting it in the sequel. Because for Doctor Sleep, I didn't even know this was going to be a sequel at first. So I was like, wait a minute, this is a sequel. When I seen the trailers impressed me. I love the trailers. When I watched the trailers, when I heard this is a sequel from The Shining, I didn't even know. Because I was like, I'm going to have to start watching The Shining, see what's going on. So, um, so we get this young girl, who's really have her best performance, her best childhood performance. I was gonna say, thank you, but I think the only problem with this movie is just it wasn't a little bit it is like The Shining, but not even close to be like The Shining. I think this movie didn't really concentrate on Ewan McGregor's character when he's been going through a lot of alcoholic problems. It could have concentrated on him, but I think this movie, I'm glad this movie concentrates on both characters that we cared about. The horror scenes in this movie, I like the scary moments in this movie. I think Rose the Hat in this movie makes everything a little horrifying, magically horrifying in this instance in some of her scenes in this movie. There can be a lot of killing scenes that just made me feel bad. Just saying. And I think this movie wasn't like it. It was. I know this movie is not really like I said. This movie is not really good as The Shining because I think some of the problems with this film it's just that it just didn't really make a little bit of sense when when they well, you know, like they just didn't really make it like The Shining. It just really didn't copy. Well, it just didn't its own story like from The Shining. That's all. That's all. So I enjoyed this movie. I watched this on the Fire Stick. It was actually good. And I'm like, oh, this is so you don't have to go to the movies to pay for a ticket or something. I think what they could have done with this movie put it a little bit in 3D, but I don't think putting a Stephen King movie in 3D might not be a better choice right now. And I think with it, like they did with it, 2 years ago, I think they put that movie in 3D or not. But I think Stephen King's movies are not that great these days. Sometimes, you know, like Cujo wasn't that good. What else? I can't remember it. The older version of it, like I said, like I said, my it, chapter 2 review. The older it, the older version of it with Tim Curry wasn't that good. I didn't really like that one because that one was not really scary enough. When you watch a scary movie, when some directors do direct a scary movie, it doesn't really get scary all that much. It just makes it funny, comedy, a little too offhand, and too much off the hook. I guess they could have done a better job with that. But with this movie, it's a fun horror movie. I guess you guys are gonna love this movie. It's gonna be fun and horrifying. But like I said, this movie's not really good as The Shining. But I think this movie is a lot of fun to watch because Doctor Sleep is one of the really good movies and funnest movies of all times. And I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie anyway. So I think that's about it for this video review. So I like all the performances in this movie were really good. The performances, the screenshot, the horrifying scenes were really great. Cause you know, I think Mike Flanagan, I think this is the guy who directed or produced maybe Oculus, I guess. I think he did like Ouija Origin of Evil. He did um and I think he did The Haunting of Hell House, which I keep hearing so much about. And I think he's been doing a really great. I think he directs a lot of great scary movies, like he did with Oculus. I think he directed Oculus. I guess I'm gonna have to look that up a little later. So I think that's about it for this review. That's all I gotta say about this movie review about Doctor Sleep. That's all I know about this movie because I've seen the movie like what's today, Sunday? Yeah, today's Sunday. So I watched this movie like yesterday. So that's all I gotta say about this movie review. So be sure to like, subscribe, press notification button. Follow me on Instagram and comment down below, and I'll see you on my next video, and thanks for watching.